Hello, welcome to Soulprint Intuitive Tarot. Thank you so very, very much for being here. So, a lot of stuff has been going on, and I think we need to just kind of work our way through it and figure out what we can figure out. Before I go there, I just had the absolute pleasure of recording a video with Kathy Beal. She has a YouTube channel, um, Professional Aquarius. She makes it so that you understand what's happening or what's going to happen and why without getting into all the details that, I don't get, right? I don't crimes and squares and whatever. The video is lovely. I was so excited to be able to record that with her. That's going to be released next week on Tuesday. So mark your calendars because I think you're going to really want to see it. We took a look at a few things. We looked at Trump. We looked at Biden. We looked at Kamala Harris. We took a quick peek at what is going to happen with Pluto going into Aquarius already and staying there. So there's a lot of information in that thing, and I think you're going to find it absolutely fascinating. So that's Tuesday the 9th. Mark your calendars. Or better yet, hit that notification bell so that you'll automatically be notified when one of my videos comes out. Okay, so where do we even go from here, right? Let's talk a little bit about not the debate, but the fallout from the debate. Now, I'm going to channel this because I just think that it's going to be a little bit more fluid that way. So, for those of you who may be new to my channel or don't know, I do two kinds of channeling. One is where I go into like a translate state. And you can always tell when I'm doing that because my voice actually changes and the way I say things and the rhythm of it changes. What you normally see is something that probably just looks like I'm just talking off the top of my head. And that's because I am receiving information. I'm receiving it in pictures, in feelings, in words, in ideas. And they're all sort of flooding in. And I am turning that into understandable sentences that make sense, which is sometimes how come I will get names mixed up or, dates or just details because it's like a flood of information and I'm trying to get it out to you. But by and large, I feel that it's a really effective way to get clear, strong messages to you. So let's start with the debate. What is going on there? What happened there? And what do we do with all the fallout from it? Okay, so there were a couple of things that went on. It was sort of like a cluster for Biden. Okay, so he was exhausted. I mean, if anybody was actually paying attention to how much traveling he was doing, there was the family stress, of course, of what was going on with Hunter. But he'd been out of the country. He had all of these like summit meetings all over the place prior to that. So not quite sure why his campaign team thought that the timing was a good idea because it just wasn't. I mean, you don't you don't take somebody who's exhausted and worn out and throw them on a stage where there is going to be absolutely no fact checking. And so there was that. They overstuffed his brain with numbers and details. And again, you're dealing with what you're dealing with. He would have been far better off to just go through the whole thing being incredulous and saying, that's a lie, and then this is what I'm going to do. So there was that. There were things that were done kind of within the studio, and I'm not blaming anybody or not blaming anybody. I'm just saying, they say that the camera angle wasn't good. I don't know about that, but that's what people say. And the mic wasn't turned up properly. Certainly, if you saw him right after that debate, he had lots of energy and his voice was strong and clear. So there was something going on there. It just did not come together in a way that was conducive for success with him. On the other side, once Trump figured out that nobody was going to correct him, well, geez, that just opened the floodgates for one lie after another. What it was, something like 30 lies. And nobody was fact checking him. And frankly, it got more and more outrageous as that 90 minutes went on. And as near as I can figure out, CNN has taken a fair bit of bashing for the way that situation was handled. So what that resulted in is all of this overreaction by Democrats. They're calling for Biden to step aside. People are saying Dems are going to, win the election if they get rid of him and put somebody else in there. And what it's doing, I mean, the Democrats, frankly, should be yelling and screaming about the Supreme Court and what the Supreme Court has done. They don't need to be carrying on and carrying on like one bad debate cancels 4 years. It's just ridiculous. And if you are in a state where you actually have Democratic representatives, you should let them know that. Like, start screaming about what is going on with the court and leave Biden the hell alone. Biden's not going anywhere, okay? And Biden is going to be strong enough to move through this process. So let's just focus on sending energy his way and canceling out the noise of, this nonsense. And I mean, it's remarkable to me that, it's been said 100 times on television by all of these like people who know that invariably sitting presidents have horrendous first debate. They all have had them, or most of them have had them. But this one, I think, coupled with sort of the fact that he looked very fatigued, and for whatever reason, his voice was not coming across clearly, it just seems to have amplified the whole age as an issue. And I swear to God, I don't understand that, because Trump is like right up behind him. I mean, it's like Trump is 45, all right? He's whatever he is, 77 or whatever it is. He's not exactly a spring chicken himself. But this is going to pass. It's been interesting, just in the last couple days, you will have seen Biden out everywhere. Just before I sat down to record, he was with, I don't know, like the national weather people. And he was talking about climate change and like 5 initiatives that are being set out to deal with that. And so he's out there, and that's a really important thing, right? Because every time he's out there, it reinforces that he is strong, he is focused, he knows what he's talking about. One of the things that actually really surprised me, until the end, towards the end of the debate, when Trump just became a little bit more and more outrageous, it was very curious to me that he managed to stay not on topic because he didn't answer any questions, but he did manage to string sentences together. Okay, no, they were lies, but he managed to string them together. And so that was a kind of an interesting, like, what's going on with him, because that's not the Trump who we see at the debates, who's off talking about electricity and sharks and batteries. And so that was curious. I haven't got an answer for it, but it was curious. All righty. Supreme Court, good Lord. Okay, this is the thing. They listen, they should simply be ashamed. The way they have handled this is absolutely disgraceful. It feels like there are going to be impacts with some of the legal cases. So as of I'm recording this on Tuesday afternoon. The sentencing date in the New York case they've asked that it be delayed past the 11th. It's probably not going to be sentenced until somewhere around the 24th, maybe. But what they're saying is now they have to go through and they have to figure out what was the presidential act and what wasn't. So I don't know how signing a personal check to cover the expenses paid out by your personal lawyer to a porn star with which you had a personal exchange in any way, shape, or form qualifies as presidential. But this absolute immunity they gave him is so far reaching that Marshawn, I guess, literally needs to go back and figure out what evidence can be removed and how that would then impact. So conversations, for example, that he had with people in the White House, his staff in the White House. So Hope Hicks comes to mind, right? I think she was one of the people who was bringing him those checks. That may very well qualify as presidential. I don't get how, but I understand that that's sort of what they're going to be looking at. You have Judge Chutkan, who this whole thing just got dumped on her lap, but it got dumped on her lap with sort of a rule, but no guidance, right? It was just like, absolute immunity for everything presidential. And here, you take this and you figure it out. So not helpful. I want to see what's going to happen with Chutkan and that case. What spirit it's early days. I think that energy is still shifting and moving and trying to sort of reground itself. But Spirit, what can you tell us at this point about the New York case? So right now, there's a lot of trying to figure out how to do a evidentiary hearing so that a lot of stuff that we don't know that Jack Smith knows can come out. But I'm being told that one of the things that they're taking into consideration is, so they do this evidentiary hearing, and after the election, when Trump, surprising to him, shocking to him, finds himself not in the White House, how they're saying it's about jurors, right? They're trying to figure out how you can frame things so that you still have kind of a pool of jurors to select from should this thing go to trial. Because there's going to be so much information that is going to be sort of flooded out prior to. That seems to be one of the considerations that they're looking at. So don't expect an immediate sort of reaction and an immediate timetable to be set. It feels like it's going to take a couple of weeks at least for the details to sort of be figured out and for them to sort of sort out and figure out how they want to proceed with this. Right now, it is leaning towards that evidentiary hearing, because at least that is going to get some of that information. Like they're showing me like a bullhorn. Okay. So some of that information is going to be able to get out there into the public. And if it's timed right, it's not going to happen right away. You want it to happen sort of September. If there's no way that this thing can go to trial beforehand, you want that evidentiary hearing taking place when people had slipped back in September. Right now, you're sort of dealing with the whole summer vacation mindset, and that's okay. Everybody, needs a break. So that's going to be interesting to see how that plays out. Canon is there's going to be questions about that, in part because the packing up of the boxes, I'm sure, had to have been done while Trump was still president and in the White House. So is that a presidential act, right? Taking those documents. Now, I think that not returning them, I think he's still going to be on the hook for that. But it is going to be interesting to see how Cannon moves forward. And she's getting, I'm sorry, but she is getting help and assistance somewhere along the way. Somebody is guiding her, and it certainly is not the two more experienced judges who literally said, recuse yourself from this case. You just simply don't have the experience. So that situation feels very, very like topsy-turvy, right? Like it's like there isn't any real clarity right now about what that looks like going forward, because she, of course, is going to do everything in her power to make sure that everything slants to Trump's benefit. So again, deep breath around that situation. If you have no expectations of Judge Cannon, it really does make it easier to cope with her. All right? Just expect nothing. And on some level, they're saying that there's going to be a documents case that goes forward. It's going to be a little different than what's going on right now. There's going to be some I don't know, indictments that get pulled. But as of right now, it's going to go forward. But they're telling me January, February time after the election. And Trump is at that point still going to be screaming about how it was stolen and that whole 9 yards. But it feels like that's when you could sort of anticipate some forward movement on that. And it really does feel like at that point, she's, frankly, if Trump's not elected, she will have served her purpose, and there will be nothing helpful, I guess, that she can do, right? Because the whole thing was everybody wanted this delayed. For some reason, but it's not for some reason. We know that Trump, the way he functions has always been do or say whatever you need to do or say in the moment to get out of this moment and hang the consequences. I don't need to think about them. And so it feels like this is one of those situations where it's just do whatever you have to do to get me out of this now. And nobody's actually thought about what happens in January or February when these cases go to court, and he by then has very, very little power. And frankly, according to Kathy, has suffered a couple of significant events that are going to significantly impact how he's doing, what resources he has, and how he moves forward. So, of the three cases, what I'm getting is that expect some shorter term delays on the New York case with Marshawn. And there may be some, I don't know, like indictments that are voided. I don't know what the legal term is, but are sort of no longer applicable because they somehow fall under this like official presidential act nonsense. I don't think it's going to be a huge deal. Okay. It's not like, we're going to end up with 2 indictments from 31 or 34. But there might be a few things sort of taken off the table. The J6 case, as near as I can figure, we're looking at an evidentiary hearing with a trial date set for 2025. And Canon and the documents case at this point, truly expect nothing, be surprised by nothing that comes out of her courtroom, and trust that karma will take care of what it needs to take care of, and that any damage that has been done or he is attempting to do to the United States proper, there is protection in place, or adjustments have been made so that his information is not accurate any longer. Okay. I will repeat, it is really, really important that you keep your vibration as high and clear as you possibly can. And I can really appreciate how frustrating this is, how aggravating it is, and how sometimes it's really, really hard to pull back. But I have to tell you that this feels more like a detour as opposed to sort of everything falling into the ocean and disappearing. Okay, it just doesn't feel like it is as cataclysmic maybe as it feels right now. I also want to say that on some level there are going to be some significant, you can't be that corrupt. I'm talking about the Supreme Court. You cannot be that corrupt and just get away with it. At some point, people are going to go, you know what? Like, enough is enough is enough. And again, the Democrats need to stop focusing on Joe Biden and start screaming about what the Supreme Court did. Let's focus on that. That's what's important. So remember, not only have they given Trump this broad immunity, but before that, last week, they said that if you do something on the court and it favors someone, and after the ruling, they give you $100,000, that's a gratuity. It's not a bribe. So wink, wink, nod, nod. I'm going to do what you ask. And on the back end, you can do what I expect or what you have offered in terms of remuneration. There is some dirty money for entertainment purposes only, and in my opinion, there's some dirty money stuff going on with that Supreme Court in terms of I want to say sort of how some people were maybe encouraged to look at some of the things in front of them in a certain way. Take deep breaths. Trust that this will resolve. All right. Now, I don't know right now. I mean, I've always said that I see 2, if not 3 people on the Supreme Court leaving. I don't know whether that's what shifts the energy of the court or Biden finally decides to expand the court just to start clearing up some of this mess. But that, again, is going to unfold. And honestly, at this point, you should be really grateful that they've gone on summer vacation and they can't do any more damage right now. And that things will change in, fall, winter time. All right. If you have any questions, please put them in the comment section below. Sorry, my brain stopped. And I will tell you right now that the astrology video, if you're seeing this first, an amazing astrology video was done yesterday and released. It's about an hour long, but I think absolutely worth every minute and every second of it. It is invaluable in terms of helping you just find some clarity about the energies that different people are going to be dealing with and how that may very well go itself. Okay. Thank you very, very much for being here. I completely and totally appreciate your support, your comments, a thumbs up. And I hope you actually enjoyed the one last week that I did with Marcus with regards to what's going on in local Georgia politics. Very interesting. All right. Until next time, take care and be well. Bye-bye.